ran over and started giving mouth to mouth
You
to
mean
the.
that guy that got paid allegedly?
I'm just saying, it seemed like there was one guy singing a very different tune in that documentary.
Yeah, and he looked scared with every word he spoke.
Fascinating, right?
You know who didn't look scared?
I'll be
Tim.
sure.
No, Tim. When he started talking about that house of horrors they grew up in.
I was just talking about that on the previous live stream. Please
That
just answer me this.
disturbed me.
No. Answer me this. My previous live stream was: did Diddy's mother create Diddy? Right? Just from a boundaries of a young man, take us through when you heard about his upbringing in that house. Take us through how that made you feel.
In the Bible that so many people that say they're worshipers of God read, it says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is older, he will not depart from it. That man sat there and said that him and his mother were invited to come and live in that house so Diddy could have a companion because there were no kids around. She didn't need the woman as a tenant for money because of all of the, the bad money that was left behind when Diddy's father passed. They were there so that Diddy could have a companion his own age. She had him dressed like a pimp at 4.
Yeah, right.
That was crazy, the outfit he was wearing.
He's been Diddying his whole life, showing off, flashing. What 4-year-old little kids look at my shoes? Like, your average 4-year-old kid can't wait to take them off so they can run around barefooted in their socks. They're not. That's how he was being groomed. I'm sorry, G-united at 4.
Okay. So
Tim also said that at any given moment, you could walk through the house and there would be nude adults doing God knows what, and there was all kind of substances. I think it's very clear that Janice is responsible. But I've always said, every bad guy in history had a mom.
Yeah.
Look at Jeffrey Dahmer's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Manson had a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler had a mom.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of monsters had moms. And guess what? When you go back and look, their moms had serious problems or were monsters too.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer's mom suffered from mental illness, and she was overly medicated on all kinds of crazy things that rewired his brain upon birth.
Yeah.
See, doctors are responsible for that.
Yeah.
As well. There is no doubt in my mind, and there shouldn't be any doubt in anyone's mind, that Janice Combs created this issue that's plaguing the world now. Like, he's literally Rosemary's baby.
Do you think, Jack, it's out of the realm of possibility that at some time in his upbringing, he's witnessed his mother using the sex for blackmail purposes? And this is deep rooted inside him because
something.
Yeah.
His mother and his father were hustlers from Harlem.
Yeah. Okay.
They were in those streets. If Diddy's father impregnated this woman with his child, it was probably because she knew how to navigate in that world.
Right.
She knew where to go get all the money that was left behind. Typically when you have a hustler, unless his woman is in on what he's doing, when he passes away, they don't know where to go find the money. They don't know where to go do this because they were kept out of it. Like, you got two kinds of women that deal with hustlers. You got the kind that are partners and accomplices, and then you have the kind that are the front. The nice, sweet, loving, wonderful woman who knows absolutely nothing.
Facts.
She doesn't know where the money is because he never told her those things. Like you hear these stories when you hear about these hitmen that come out from all of these years with families and wives and neighbors, and no one knew because
Yeah,
that's what that family was put in place for.
correct.
But if Janice was able to go get the money, if Janice was able to keep the lifestyle up like nothing had happened after Diddy's father passed away, then I think it's fair to say that she was in on it. He was a hustler and he was a snitch who was snitching out his crew. You don't think he asked her to get informations on some of his, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it all makes too much sense. What we're seeing is your typical African American dysfunctional family played out in real time. That's what
yeah,
this is. What bothered me though was is that they were sitting there asking Tim to ask, how did he end up like this? You grew up with him, you were there. He sat there and told us what was going on in that house when they were children. How is he not just as traumatized as Diddy? They
yeah,
were both kids watching all of that crap go on. And his mother chose to move into that house knowing who Janice Combs was. That woman had a reputation as Dapper Dan. What kind of mother moves her and her child into a den of iniquity to raise kids? I wouldn't say that's a good mom at all. So, how is asking another person who was a child growing up in that situation? How do you ask him anything? The man's living out in the middle of the woods like he's in Witsec willingly.
yeah.
Hey, Tommy.
How are you, Jag?
I don't know. I think we about to get spicy. Glad you
Yeah,
showed up.
ain't no question.
Scoville by name, Scoville by nature. Welcome, Tommy. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. How you doing there, Yum Yum? What's up with
I'm
the
good.
red light? We know what that means, right? We've
Yeah,
all been
listen,
studying, bro. We know what that red light means.
listen. All I'm saying is sometimes, right, you have to just remove certain factors from. We'll talk about it later, Tommy. Okay, but just look into my hypnotic circle, Tommy. Look into my hypnotic circle. Okay.
Yeah, no, I see
Yeah,
how it's working. I actually saw you the day that came out of the basket, but I didn't see the red light until now. But we
yeah,
know what's up.
yeah.
Everybody is
Well, I'll
well.
be honest with you. In my room right now, it is way brighter than it looks, and there's no stress on my eyes, and it is just a glorious for my corneas.
That's
This is
awesome. That's
fabulous.
awesome.
Well,
Couldn't
there's
be
no
happier.
minors present, so it's safe.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're
We're
good.
good. Yeah, we're good.
You know, but can I do a little? I'm just going to fan out a little bit, and I don't care. But
Yeah,
Jag, you had to love that documentary, man, for real. Because you talk about that whole documentary was that if you remove the part on the couch, there's no theory to anything that happened there. That had to be validating as hell, right? That had to feel good, man.
Well, considering that it was put together by the enemy
Right?
and they couldn't get around that conversation without acknowledging it, that spoke volumes. The part about it that I liked is that the clip that they got from the blue couch, that we filmed that in November of 2022.
yeah,
For that to be there and then to use that to introduce my friend I'll be sure into the documentary, that was powerful. I was glad that at least if they were going to use me, they were going to use me to address something very real that has
mm,
been being talked about publicly for years, and people have been just ignoring it. I don't know how many times I've sat on panels and cried about what my friend went through
yeah,
and about how many times we prayed him back to life. I don't know how many times I've said that, in my opinion, I believe Kim Porter's demise was foul play and that her baby daddy was behind it. I've been called a liar. I've been called a this. I've been called a that. It's been a this. It's been a that. And now finally, my friend gets to say it for himself.
yeah.
And he
Yeah.
looked great in that documentary. And I don't just mean
Yeah.
like health wise, but I mean like I watched that with my brother Johnny when it was over. He's like, man, you gotta love him. You know what I mean? Like, and he just he comes across as just a solid human being. You could see how much he he loved Kim and how these are gangsters, man. Like
How
I think
much
this,
he loves her still,
yeah, still fighting too.
Of course.
like a husband does for his wife. People keep forgetting that part. Albert and Kimberly were married. They were married.
And it's his baby's mama too. I mean, that's
Quincy
the mother of his daughter,
was
and the son. That
conceived in that marriage. Imagine what it's like to be a father, knowing that your woman has been coaxed away from you and then put in a prison. You know, I think the most important thing that Albert said was what I've been saying ever since the Cassie tape came out, ever since the Cassie lawsuit came out. And Albert finally confirmed it. It wouldn't be about the Cassie case. If Kim were alive, it would have been about Kim. See, everything that Kim did made it possible for Cassie to do what she did. And I've been saying that. I've been calling it. Kim is a hero because she was willing to put her life on the line for it. And honestly, if it wasn't for Kim, I don't think Cassie would be here either. Nobody talks about that. At least nobody but me until now. But it's just bizarre knowing how long I've been saying all of these things and advocating for my friend and advocating for his life after the multiple attempts made on it.
You know what, Jag? I think one thing you should consider is us having a chat and putting together a documentary, because there's a lot of Jag lore. I've always said this to you. Like when we met, I know more about you, Jag, now because we chat as friends and things than the Jag lore. You know what I mean? And I think that documentary was so easy to consume, and there were so many points, and I learned a lot about the people who you've been talking about for months because of how this information was delivered. It's something that we chat about because I think people would love that.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to open up and share all of this. It's just that every time I get to talking, people get scared.
Yeah.
I went live on Instagram yesterday with MIA. Who knew it would be so explosive?
Yeah. Well, listen.
Well, no offense, Jag, but at this point, I kind of just expect if you're there, it's probably going to be explosive. But that, hey, you know something? But keeping it real, those really old recordings of you sitting on the couch, I got into the Diddyverse because of all of the stuff that you were doing in the beginning. The videos that I saw of you back then, the only reason that I'm doing this, the only reason I started down that rabbit hole was because of the things that you were saying back then. I was blown away the first time I saw you. I was like, holy crap. Yeah, I was floored. It really was.
You know what?
Funny go, Jag.
So was I.
I can't imagine it.
Because I knew what I was. I think people have a hard time understanding that I was aware of what was going to happen to me. And I still did it anyway. And I'm proud of myself. But not for me. Because when Albert finally tells everyone everything.
Yeah, you got that impression. You really did.
Yeah, you could hear him pump the brakes on multiple occasions, saying there was a lawsuit pending, and that this was evidence that he could. But you could see he wanted to tell it as much as you want him to tell it.
It was
Gotta be hell. Can't imagine
It'll
that.
come. That day,
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
But that's why me being on the front line of exposing all of the fake so-called victims and witnesses is important,
I agree.
because I don't think people understand these people. I'll obliterate them from the face of the earth before I let them screw over my friend's chance for justice.
Yeah, I agree.
And not just for him, but for us all.
Yeah.
What I'll be sure is about to do has the ability to change the entire landscape of how American music history in the past 35 to 40 years is going to be seen. And I'm out here clearing that path. I I don't have a problem with doing block and tackle as long as we make it to the end zone.
Yeah. Well, since we brought up your friend, right? I need to ask you, when it comes to Al B. Sure, his marriage, his son, the fact that Diddy almost took it from him like a trophy.
Oh
You
no,
know?
even almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it wasn't real, even though the adoption stories were fake, even though the stories about him being a deadbeat dad were fake, even though the stories about him being a
Right.
bum and a has-been, all of that stuff was fake. It was all invented by Diddy. Imagine what it's like to watch the whole world buy in to a monster story when you've been nothing but a stand-up human being
Yeah.
the entire time.
And then be seen together, smiling about it.
Well,
That's the thing. It's
that wasn't for Diddy. That
oh,
was
I know.
for
Yeah.
Kim.
Oh,
That's
I
how
know.
much that man loved that woman. There's nothing that
Yeah.
he wouldn't have done for her.
That was the thing that blew my mind, Jag.
I was
When-
about to say, for anybody that didn't see this documentary, he talks about being in the studio with his with Kim as a new wife, and also had Quincy, had his baby there. And Diddy came into the studio and said, "Boy," and keep in mind, right? Misha Hilton's there with him, and he said, "Boy, I wish I had a beautiful woman like that."
Yeah.
Right to Albie's face,
In front
and
of
Albie said,
Misa.
you do, Misa," and he just
Yeah,
proceeded to
but
steal it.
Misa. This is the same woman who, right after the Cassie lawsuit came out, started number one, she started crying and complaining about what a bad example of a father Diddy was, and how he wasn't going to drag her son down, and he wasn't going to do this, and he wasn't going to do that. Then the Cassie thing hits, and then all of a sudden she's wants to do interviews about the legacy of Bad Boy and all that Diddy has done, and whoop-de whoop-de woo. Maybe people need to go back and revisit that.